Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. We just took a look at Tiger Woods' golf swing draw versus fade. If you haven't seen that, highly recommend checking that video out. But today we are taking a look at Justin Thomas's golf swing, because there's a few new videos I found of Justin Thomas's swing, and there's a few new things that I noticed in those videos, and I wanted to share them with you guys. So we've got some awesome slow motion looks at Justin's swing, and let's dive straight in and take a look. The first look is this iron swing, which looks absolutely awesome. It's a perfect look down the line, slow motion, to take a look at Justin Thomas's golf swing. So here, setup position, pretty good overall. Great posture, great alignment, knees, hips, feet, arms, chest, everything in alignment. Really good there. Not surprising considering Justin's dad is a golf coach. If you didn't know that, Justin's dad, Mike Thomas, actually coaches Justin, has done for his entire life. A few little things, quite a lot of knee bend, I would say, edging on the side of a lot of knee bend for a tour player, that is. More knee bend than certainly a few other guys, but not overly, but just edging on that side. And as we take the club away, there's a lot to know about Justin's swing. There's some things which are really good, which you could definitely apply to your swing, and there's a few other things which maybe I wouldn't recommend the average person trying. Let's play this swing slowly back. If we pause it at parallel to the ground, beautiful takeaway position, nothing wrong with that at all. Takes the club really nicely away with the body. You can see he's already starting to pivot the lower body, knees, chest and hips all turning together, keeping that club nicely in front of him, no real wrist set at this point, and club face nicely matching his spine angle. Nice big wide takeaway, which I love to see. As we slowly take this to the top, Justin has pretty minimal wrist set in his swing really. As we get to the top, if we pause it here, you can't even see the club because it's hidden perfectly behind the hands. A little, well, kind of close to being down the line, just a tiny bit laid off, but in this position there's a lot of things to talk about. First of all, I'm going to work my way up, start from the ground up. Beautiful lower body position, beautiful turn and pivot with the lower body. He's really turned onto that right side. You can see the pressure going into his right leg, right hip, everything like that. But that right knee hasn't moved or swayed inwards. If you watch any of my swing videos, which I've talked about, something I'm working on, I tend to turn my knees a little bit too much to the right on the backswing. But Justin does this really well here, just pivoting, keeping the knees pretty much pointing forward. He has let that left knee come in a little bit, but not bad overall. We'll have a look at a front-on video of this in a second so you guys can see what I'm talking about there. Huge shoulder turn. Justin Thomas is a hugely athletic and mobile guy. So it's important when looking at Justin's swing that you really know that, because even though he's not a very big guy, not a very kind of hugely muscly guy, not a very tall guy, he is very athletic. He spends a lot of time in the gym. He should get more credit for that. He's very strong for his size, which is why he's one of the longest hitters on tour, and very, very mobile. Another thing to mention, if we look at where Justin's hands are, they are a long way above Justin Thomas's shoulder plane. Would I recommend this for everyone? Probably not, because the higher the hands are above the shoulder plane, the more the hands and arms are going to have to drop in the downswing, which we'll see in a second. And also look at Justin's right elbow, very, very away from his body. Not necessarily a bad thing, because he actually does keep the hands and arms in front of him pretty nicely and does a good job to kind of reposition this in the downswing. So if we have a look at the downswing, we're going to notice slowly, if we play this through, Justin, the club is going to shallow out really nicely. The hands and arms are going to drop pretty much straight down to get back out in front of him as he kind of starts to squat and rotate, and that right heel comes up off the ground. If we pause this parallel to the ground here, we can see that right heel is a long way up off the ground. Now, again, there's a few good things in this position. There's a few not so good things I wouldn't recommend to the average person. Obviously, Justin Thomas makes it work extremely well. I wouldn't recommend getting your right heel off the ground nearly as early in the swing. Why? Because if your right heel comes off the ground, your right knee will, and your right hip, for most people, will move in towards the golf ball. Now, why don't you want that? If your right knee and hip are moving in towards the ball, it's going to cause some early extension. You could present the heel of the golf club to the ball, causing that dreaded shank, which obviously we do not want. Justin does a pretty good job though here. His right knee moves more inwards rather than forwards towards the golf ball. I'll show you in a front on position what I mean by that. And he maintains that forward flexion, gets the club in a really good position here, matching his spine angle pretty much. Keeps really good connection with the hands and arms. If we slowly play this to impact, we're going to see the body rotate out the way. And if we pause it at impact here, loads of weight going through Justin's left side. Really important to note, getting that weight through the golf ball. Really open with the chest and hips. Beautiful position here as we slowly swing through to the finish. Big high release. Not a great spine angle after impact. Looks like that would personally hurt me quite a lot. But big high release, nice big wide swing. Let's just play this swing through a few times for you guys to take a look at. Big, high, wide swing. Justin takes the club back really nice, high, away. Keeps really good width, minimal wrist set, and keeps the width on the way down. Really doesn't take much of a divot here, really just bruising the ground as he swings through. Let's play it through one more time. And just pay attention to how wide he keeps that club, and then that right knee, right hip, right heel all moving off the floor into the ball a little bit. Now let's take a look at Justin from a front on angle with the well, first of all, let's have a look at this front on angle with the driver, and then we'll have a look at a down the line angle with the driver. Now if we have Justin set up here, we can see everything is pretty neutral. But there's one thing I want to note to you guys, and watch Justin's head. Because before he actually takes the club back, he's going to start tilting his head to the right, start turning his head to the right away from the ball. Watch this. The head is going to turn to the right here, then the club is going to move. Now, if we slowly play this through and pause it parallel to the ground. Now, why does Justin do that? Well, it's going to enable him to get a bigger shoulder turn in the backswing, bigger overall turn, and probably to get a little bit more loaded into that right side. Obviously, if I have my head straight and I try and turn my shoulders, I can't turn my shoulders that much. But if I turn my head first this way, and then I turn my shoulders, I'm going to be able to turn my shoulders a bit more. Helps me get a bit more turn. But you're obviously going to have to reposition that head on the downswing. So if we have it paused here, parallel to the ground, we can see Justin's already loading into that right side. We can see kind of how much weight and pressure is going into that right foot already at this point in the takeaway. But nice position here, keeping a nice amount of width with the club and hands. And we can also see how turned away from the ball his head is. I mean, I don't even know if at this position he's really keeping his eyes on the ball. As we take it to the top slowly, doesn't have much wrist set, as I mentioned. Doesn't really set the wrist until quite late. If we pause it at the top, again here, note how much weight is on that right side. He's turned a lot into that right side, into that right hip, and huge shoulder turn as well. We can also see what I was talking about earlier from front on, is that left knee has moved in just a little bit, enabling him to get a bit more hip turn and get more weight onto that left side. Huge high hands as we slowly play this down. Hands are going to drop as he really rotates hard, pushing up off the ground as he comes through to impact. You can see him holding the hands. There's so little release really. in terms of wrist hinge in Justin's swing, which is something I would recommend for the average golfer, because it's going to make you a lot more consistent, create a lot more width, and swing the club a little bit faster too. We can see, if we have it paused here at impact, hugely athletic position. Look at his feet. That neither of his heels are on the ground. He's really jumping up into the ball, exploding up into it to try and get maximum power here. I would not recommend that for the average person, because if you start jumping up off the ground, one, you're not going to be maintaining your spine angle. You're probably going to be early extending into the ball. You're not going to be rotating as hard as Justin is, because he's very athletic and mobile. And two, you're probably going to be striking the ball all over the club face and missing it by a long way in terms of dispersion, whereas Justin obviously doesn't have that problem so much. As we slowly play this through, we can see he holds that angle and doesn't really let the wrists rehinge till quite late as he comes through to that finish position. Now we're going to take a look at a front-on angle with Justin hitting iron, then we're going to take a look at a down-the-line angle with driver. Because there's another thing I want you to note with this iron swing. As we just mentioned, note the head position is going to turn away from the ball before he takes the club away. And just watch how wide he keeps his hands and arms away from him. And if we pause it at the top, the hands and arms are really nicely connected to the body. It looks like here he's trying to hit kind of like maybe a little knockdown shot, keep the ball flight a little bit lower. But I really like that. I really like how connected the arms are to the body. Also love how centered he stays on this shot. We can see he's kind of staying over the ball really, really nicely. And as he swings down, he's going to shift that weight left onto his left side as he comes down. Keep maintaining that wrist angle. Never, and if we pause it at impact, he never really had much wrist angle to begin with, so he doesn't have too much to get away. So there's no huge release. If we pause it at impact, we can see how ahead the hands are of the ball, which is a really important thing for good striking with your irons. As we slowly play this through, again, not much release, maintaining that angle with the hands and the wrists. Now let's have a look at a down the line driver swing. Now bear in mind this is actually not as good a swing by Justin. I listened to a podcast Justin did, and basically Justin doesn't like his golf swing when he gets too down the line or across the line. That's what he really hates to see. He does not like to see the club get across the line at the top of the backswing. But this is Justin hitting driver. And if we slowly take the club away, big wide takeaway, love that. Pause it parallel to the ground, beautiful position there. Really, I mean, everything we've just talked about, you could pretty much apply to this. Really nice wide, big takeaway. Doesn't hinge the wrist too much from here, kind of maintains that little bit, huge wide swing. But if we pause it at the top, do note that this swing is definitely more down the line and possibly even slightly across the line than it was in the previous iron swing we had a look at. So I would say if Justin was looking at this, he'd probably want to see that club a little bit more laid off. But other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. Huge load into that right hip, right side. Huge shoulder turn, gets that right elbow really far away from him, creating more width, more power, and gets the hands above the shoulder plane, and that left wrist pretty much matches the club face. As we start to swing down, the arms and hands are going to have to drop. As he starts to really rotate hard, look how early that right heel comes up off the ground. And if we slowly play it and pause it parallel to the ground here, really good position. I love how he's getting the club face more closed here, more square earlier. But look at that right heel. That is crazy how off the ground that is so early. And as we play it to impact, jumping up off that left leg, pause it at impact here. Justin definitely doesn't have as much room through impact as like when we just took a look at Tiger Woods' swing with driver. Tiger has more space at impact because he's keeping that right heel down. He's keeping the right knee further back, right hip further back, a little bit more forward flexion or a little bit more right lateral bend as well, meaning that he has a little bit more space between his hands and his body. And I'm only talking a little bit because Justin does still have space here, especially considering how off the ground that right heel is so early, which is not something I'd recommend. As we slowly play it through here, again, not a huge kind of flip or anything, nice high hands and release of the club, but hugely mobile in his back as well, coming through to that finish. Let's just play this through for you guys to watch a few times. Let me know if there's anything else you guys picked up on there, maybe something you're working on in your own golf swing, something you can just see that you've picked up on maybe that I haven't mentioned here. Just watch this beautiful swing in slow motion a few times over. I hope you have enjoyed this video, guys. If you've learned something, comment down below, let me know. I'd absolutely love to know what you learned from that, or if there was something you think I missed, comment down below. And who else do you want me to take a look at? What other golf swings do you want to have a look at? Justin Thomas, one of the best players in the world and one of the most popular guys out on tour as well. Love having a look at Justin's golf swing. And as always, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future videos. Got some awesome stuff coming out for you guys. As always, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Have a great week and grip it and rip it.